Hello, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am here today to give you my January, February, I'm not sure which one to call it, update on my Cultivate What Matters power sheets. We have been talking about these things for months now. I first did a flip through video back in October when they first got released for the new year. And then I released a video about what my 2019 goals were and how I felt about the prep work, some tips, some of my thoughts on the prep work. And I've also featured it in a number of vlogs, just talking about it, working on it with my friends, etc. In all of those videos, I have asked you how often you would want to see an update. And so many of you are so sweet and you said, whatever works for you, whenever you want to do it. And I love the person that told me, do what feels right. Whatever feels comfortable for you, do that. But I had a lot of people request a monthly update. And the truth is, updating you on a monthly basis is accountability for me. So everybody wins. So I am here to do a monthly update. I spent last weekend working with my friends. We didn't maybe do as much work on our power sheets as we should have, but we talked about a lot of things and I got a lot of ideas from what they're working on, and then I asked some questions about some of their recommendations for what I'm working on, which I will talk about when I get to my action items. One of the things that I asked my friends and sort of what they recommended, and I agree. I was looking for that validation from someone else that was like, yeah, that's a good idea. And so then I spent another day or so finishing up the prep work, closing out January, even though it isn't quite the end of the month yet. I think that's okay. I'm not forgetting about my January stuff, and you'll see that when I show you this, like it's not the end of the month, and I'm still gonna focus on my January tending list, but now February is ready to go, especially because the last weekend in January is super busy for me with a planner event that there wasn't gonna be time to work on them. I wanted to make sure they were ready to go for February. I think that is taking a lot of self-control for me to have February ready to go, but I wanna still focus on what I have listed as my action items for January. And it's gonna take some self-control and a little bit of discipline, but I think that's okay because discipline is a muscle that you need to work. And I'm excited about the things that I've planned for February, but I'm focusing on not starting them yet. So today I'm gonna tell you a couple of thoughts I have on going back to the prep work. I'm gonna talk about how January went, how I felt about it, how things were/are going. And then I'm gonna show you my February action plan and the items that I have added into February. If you haven't watched the video about what the goals are, I highly recommend you go watch that one first because I will be referencing those as I go through my February action items. So it might be a little confusing if you haven't seen that video yet. I will be sure to link it up in the cards and in the description box if you want to check that video out first. Okay, let's start with going back and looking at the prep work. Now, I feel like the prep work is in two pieces, right? So there's the actual prep work, which is all of these pages that come before the goals. There's like, I don't know, 50 of them. That I have not gone back and looked at. I have not gone back. I felt like I took what was in that prep work and I turned it into the goals, and that is the only section that I have gone back to. And I'm okay with that. I want to share with you sort of my experience, and I haven't gone back to look at any of that. And maybe somebody else operates differently when it comes to working on their goals, but that's how it's been working for me. Now, the actual like action plan. So each of the goals has one of these action plans. And on one side, it's kind of got the why are you working on it? And then on the other side, it's got all of the steps, like all of the things that you're going to do to work on that goal. Obviously, you have to come back and look at this when you're working on your next months, because this is where I'm going to get the ideas for the things that I'm going to do to accomplish that goal and what the steps I'm going to take in the next month are. But what I really want to talk about here is going back and adding more stuff. So for some of these, I have, over the course of the month, I've thought about something else that I want to do that falls into that category. Now, let me also say, I've thought of things that I want to do, and then I tried to fit them into a category and they didn't really fit. And so then I had to sort of think, okay, well, why is it that you want to do that? If it's not fitting into one of these goals that you came up with, like, why is it important to you? And I didn't end up writing it down. But there have been things that I have thought about. I'm like, oh, I really want. So I'll give you an example. Meditation. That is something that I have tried in the past and I've really wanted to do, but it's never really worked out. I think I always tried doing it at night because I thought it was more of a relaxation thing. And I think I've been more inspired by a couple of people that I follow on social media to try it in the morning. The old Laken would have been like, let's start it tomorrow. Sign up for an app, done, let's go. That's not progress. That is overcommitment. So I decided to add it to the list. It falls under the health category. And whatever month it works out that I'm gonna try and add meditation in as a daily habit, And maybe I'll even start with a weekly habit first. Maybe I'll start with a weekly meditation or bi-weekly meditation and then work my way up to daily, which is what I'm doing with stretching. We'll talk about how well that did not go in January. But my goal with stretching is for it to be a daily habit. But I knew that trying to do it daily was going to just be too much. So I started in January trying it with weekly. And on the calendar page, I had that I was going to do it weekly in January and then 3 times a week in February. And then by March, it will be a daily habit. That was ambitious. That's not going to happen. I barely did it weekly in January. I barely stretched weekly in January. We're going to keep up with the weekly in February. And guess what? I'll transition to more times when I feel like I have accomplished the first step of it. Like, I'm not going to try and make it bigger until I accomplish the baby step. So until I can consistently stretch on a weekly basis, then I will try bi-weekly, then maybe 3 times a week, then maybe even 4 times a week before I even try to switch to daily. Back to adding things. So I added meditation on here, and I will add it in 1 month when that feels right. I also added something on the health one called light therapy. So I saw this from Mika Allen. She posted about it on her Instagram, where she has this light that gives her basically vitamin D, and it is supposed to be very helpful for the winter time and for people that work in offices and don't get enough sunlight, and how that sunlight can sometimes affect your mood. And I just thought that was really interesting. So it is something that I want to do more research on and then maybe implement. Now, at this point, we're kind of on the downhill, I think, of implementing that because the days are getting longer. So maybe it's going to be a later in the year thing. Maybe I'm going to add it in to research it in like October, maybe purchase it in November, and then maybe start implementing it in December when we're on the decline of the days getting shorter and like less light, especially when it is the worst in like the peak of December, like the beginning of December, when most of the daylight hours for me are spent in an office. I usually get a little bit of daylight when I go to the office. The sun's already risen, but I don't get to spend time out in it. Maybe that should be the goal. I get to walk to the subway in it, and then when I leave the office, it's dark. And I do sometimes notice that affecting my mood. So I'm interested in researching that. All of that to say, for me, it has worked out to go back and add things in, because then I at least feel like they're on paper, they are somewhere, they fit into a goal, and when the time is right, I will add them into an action item. What else did I add in? Let's see. I didn't add anything to that one. Oh, I added something. So I talked about this in a vlog, as well as I think I posted that on Instagram. So the Share the Love Journal, the Erin Condren Share the Love Journal, I want to fill one out for 2 people. One, I want to fill one out for Sam, and I want it to be done by our anniversary. But I added it to the relationships goal because I'm not starting it yet, because there's 50 questions and I want to put pictures on the other side, but our anniversary isn't until May. I have time. Like, I don't need to start it right this second. And then the other one I want to do is for myself, and I put that under the goal of the Appreciate Being Me goal. I added Share the Journal Love to Me. So again, I'm not going to start it right now because I know that it's not time and it's not what I'm focusing on, but that's something I want to do at some point during the year. Okay, so I think that's it as far as things that I added this month to my goals. But I think I just really found a groove that if there is something that I want to do, or like a mini goal and action that I want to take that's going to take more time than just adding it to my weekly to-do list that week, I add it into one of these action plans. Okay, now let's talk about January. So I'm going to hold this up. Hopefully you can pause, take a screenshot, whatever. I will also be posting this on Instagram when it's done, like at the end of the month, however it looks, however many check marks there are, I'm going to post it on Instagram. January hasn't been perfect. Like, in no sense is everything checked off. So let's start from the bottom and work our way up. So let's start with the daily tasks. I knew that all of them weren't going to get checked off. That sounds wrong. I didn't necessarily know that, but it would be really over ambitious of me to think that I was going to be perfect and do it every single day. That was likely not going to happen. So the 3 daily things that I have was close my Apple Watch rings, which I lost the 5th of the month. And here's the thing. I think that's good and bad. So at first I was really mad at myself. So I didn't lose it because I didn't work out that day. I lost it because I slept in and I didn't put it on. And then that was the day I went to the spa for a couple of hours and I didn't wear it for a couple of hours. So getting my 12 stand goals was like impossible. And finally at like 10 o'clock, I realized that there was no way that I was gonna get 12. So my Apple Watch ring streak ended 4 days into the new year. And on one hand, I'm really bummed because I think that having that streak would have motivated me to make sure that I hit it, especially these past couple of days that were super cold and I was not motivated at all to get any steps in. But on the other hand, I think it gave me a little grace that on the other days that I just wasn't going to hit it for whatever reason, I didn't necessarily overexert myself to hitting those goals. So you know what? It's okay. I definitely have hit it more this month than I did in prior months, and that's progress. The next one was read 30 minutes. I didn't like that I put a time associated with it. So I did end up checking it off sometimes when maybe I only read 15 or 20 minutes. I didn't like that I put that barrier on it because I think that totally defeats the purpose of my word of the year. Like I could still make progress even if I only read 15 or 20 minutes. So I still gave myself the check mark for those days. And I didn't do it every day. Like especially on the weekends, I found it hard to force myself to take the time, which I am getting better about as the month goes on, but it's not perfect. Now, the only one I did do perfectly so far is the one-line journal, and I have been loving that. I have a notebook next to my bed, and every day before I go to sleep, I write down one good thing that happened and one bad thing that happened, and it's just been really great. Some days I have more than one good thing. It allows me to reflect on the day, and some days, like the bad thing is so stupid. And it just reminds me that like, even when you feel like the day is terrible and this one bad thing happened, like it's really not all that bad. So I've been really liking that. Okay, the weekly ones is where I've really been struggling. So the stretch video I've done once, and that is why you'll see in February, it's exactly the same. The phone-free bubble bath has been amazing. Like I have done it every week. I have done it multiple times a week, and I almost put it on again for February, but I decided not to because first off, I need to do other things. Like that was really great for my health, but let me do the other things. And I think I've already sort of ingrained it as a habit. Baths have always been something that I loved and always been a habit of sorts. I usually always would take a bath at least once a week. And now that I've gotten in the habit of not taking my phone with me, that's just the habit that's been created. So I'm not going to force myself to take a bath every week in February or going forward. But now when I do go take the baths, I am not going to take my phone. 30 minutes of decluttering, that's been good. Again, I wish I hadn't put a time on it. I wish I had just put like declutter one area, and I did that weekly, and we'll talk about in February how I'm changing that up a little bit. Calling someone was so hard. So hard. And I haven't put anything related to this for February yet because I haven't figured it out. I have a couple ideas, but honestly, I'm not a phone call person. I don't like talking on the phone unless it is my mom, my dad, or Sam. Those are the 3 people that I like to talk to on the phone. Everybody else, I don't. I feel uncomfortable, especially making the phone call. Like maybe if somebody calls me, I answer. But even my friend who came over the other day, she called me right before she got here because she was looking for a parking spot. And even then I was like slightly uncomfortable to answer the phone. And I'm like, you're gonna see her in person in like 5 minutes. And like, that's not uncomfortable, but talking on the phone, I don't know what it is. I just don't like it. So as much as I want to get out of my comfort zone and make that a habit and make it a thing, I'm not ready yet. I'm just not. So I'm thinking in February, I'm going to do something related to texts because I think at least it's progress and at least I'm making an effort to work on those relationships. What I haven't decided yet if it's going to be weekly or daily because texts are easy enough. You can make them daily. Okay, leave 5 Facebook groups. So I skipped a week of this. I just forgot to do it. And I did a good job. And when we get to February, I'm going to talk about how I'm switching up this habit a little bit because I realized I'm in so many Facebook groups that leaving 5 per week, we wouldn't finish, like I wouldn't clear them out by the end of the year. Working on a presentation that I have been doing and then checking and updating the power sheets. It's the only one I added. I talked about this on a vlog, but I added this since I set up my January tending list. Now, let me talk about that for a second. So adding things mid-month. I almost added something to my January 1 mid-month. And at first I was gonna be all proud of myself and be like, well, then I would be okay with the fact that half the month would be empty. And I was like, that is ridiculous, Laken. Don't add something in January. You set up January. This is what you committed to for January. Put it on a sticky note and have it as an idea for February. And so that's what I did. I didn't add it into January because I didn't want to add so much that I couldn't get done in the stuff I already wanted to put down. So I think that there is a place, and I mean, obviously I did it one time. I think there is a place to add things during the month, but I also think that it might just be better to wait and add it to the next month. Okay, now let's talk about the actual monthly steps. So I did a lot of them. I also am really annoyed. Look at this. The stickers don't fit all the way across. And in the Facebook group, somebody said that they made the boxes on the paper bigger this year compared to last year, but they didn't update the stickers. So that's kind of annoying. So next month I might just fill them in, but I want to use the stickers. Like, I bought the stickers. Anyways, so I have made really, really good progress, and I've done almost all of them. The only two that I have not done is take a dance class, and we're going to blame Mother Nature for that one because I was signed up and ready to take a dance class on my day off on Monday, and then the wind chill was negative 15 degrees. So I did not leave my apartment. I did not go take said dance class. So I am currently in my schedule signed up to take one on February 1st, Friday, February 1st. And if I do that, I'm going to give myself the sticker because it's basically January. It's close enough, right? So that's the plan right now. And then the last one is book flights to India, which we haven't done because honestly, Sam and I have not had time. Since we got the save the date, we have not had time to like sit down and plan how many days we're going to take off. I've looked at the flights like 14 times. I know what flights I want to book. I know what days I want to leave, how many vacation days I want to take. I just need him to commit to it. He loves to work and he works for himself. And so he doesn't necessarily get paid time off. Like if he's not working, he's not getting paid. So it is a bigger deal for him to take that many days off. And so we need to sit and have a conversation about it and then physically book them. But we're so close. And if it doesn't happen, oh well, I'm going to move it to February. Overall, I am so happy with how January went. I really feel like I didn't just put a bunch of stuff on a to-do list that I felt had to get done because that's what you do. Like last January, I decluttered my whole apartment and then it didn't stay decluttered. This January, I decluttered like 3 spaces. I decluttered the coat rack. You heard it right. I decluttered the coat rack. I decluttered the shelves in my bedroom because those are something that you see every day and I just wanted them to look nice. And I decluttered the tea bucket. That's it. And that is why I felt silly about the 30 minutes because some of those didn't take me 30 minutes, but it's okay. And those spaces, guess what? They've stayed decluttered. And I think that is the key to progress is that instead of spending one weekend and doing the whole house, and I know that's like the Marie Kondo way that you just like do it all in one time and then you're done. I think at least for me, that is not long-term sustainable. So I am taking it one space at a time. And even if it takes me the whole year to declutter my house, that's okay. If it stays decluttered, that's more important. So again, I think the mindset of taking baby steps and the mindset of making those baby steps associated with a goal that's actually important to me has made this January more productive than any January. More productive in a absolutely positive way than any January. So I'm really excited for February and let's get to the February tending list. Now, again, because it is, now that I'm looking at it, I don't think I'm gonna add anything else. I was gonna say, well, we're gonna talk about the text phone call thing. I might add that. Otherwise, I don't think I'm gonna add anything else. And partially because February is gonna be crazy. So let's start there. I'm going out of town 2 weekends in February. And given that I work, like I have a full-time job, a lot of my extra stuff happens on the weekends. Obviously not the daily ones, but the weekly ones, definitely a lot of them on the weekends, and the monthly tasks, a lot of them on the weekends. So I knew that it would be overly ambitious to put a ton of stuff in February. Now, you'll look at this and you'll say, that's still a lot, like, and you still have a lot there. And I do still have a lot, but a lot of them are smaller. Some of them are repeats from January that I'm just continuing to try and build the habit. And some of them are things I'm already doing. I just want to track them. You'll see that when we get to the daily. So let's start with the monthly action items. So just like last month, I have to do the next month's tending list. So to do the March tending list. The next one I love, this is my friend Ileana's idea. And that is to print out sweet messages that I have gotten from people on social media. Being on social media and putting yourself out there, you get a lot of not so nice comments. Like those happen and that happens and you have to be strong and move past them. But what's even better than that is when people say amazing things and say super sweet things. And it has happened both in comments and I've gotten even a lot of like private messages where people are just like, I don't really comment a lot, or it'll come in on Instagram and be like, I don't really comment on YouTube, but I just wanted to say this. And it makes my day when I get those. Like it reminds me why I share my life on the internet and why I'm doing what I'm doing. I mean, I love what I'm doing and that's another big part of it. I wouldn't do it if I didn't love it, but it's also, it means so much when people are like, you really inspire me because of X or whatever it is. So I got one when I was with my friends on Sunday. I mentioned it and my friend Ileana was like, I think that you should print them out. I think that you should take the ones that mean the most to you and I think that you should print them out and put them somewhere so that when you're feeling unmotivated or down or whatever, it'll lift you back up. So I'm really excited about that as one of my action items for February. And I put that under the appreciate being me category. And then, so 2 things finance related that I want to get done in February. I want to stop having PayPal deductions. I know that sounds so silly, but I have a couple subscriptions that auto from PayPal, like Hulu and I think iTunes and something else. And I don't want it to be that way anymore because sometimes I get money into my PayPal from various things and then I can't track it properly, if that makes sense. Like I have in my budget spreadsheet, which there's a whole video on that if you want to see how nerdy I am. But I have in there like the $8, actually I think I upgraded to premium. So the $12 from Hulu that gets like taken out of my account every month, I have that already built in. So then when it doesn't take it out, or when it only takes out $5 because I had $7 from something else on my PayPal balance, it throws my budget off. So it's something small that I'm gonna change to just make my budgeting system easier, simpler. Cancel cable. I was waiting until the end of football season, and I know the Super Bowl hasn't happened, but I don't plan on watching that here, and I'm done. And when we get to the fall, I will figure out how I'm gonna watch football, but I literally, that is the only reason we turn on the TV, is to watch football. That's it. And so it is just an expense that we don't need to have anymore, and I'm saying goodbye. All right, so as far as decluttering, so in January, I did a weekly declutter where I did one section or one tasks each week. Given that I'm out of town so much in February, that was not realistic. So I decided to pick I have 2 weekends in February basically. So I decided to pick 2 places and I'm gonna do one each of the weekends in February. So that is the desk drawers and then the buckets in the bathroom. And then I added birthday cards again. I mean, this is something that I've always done, so it's not crazy, but it goes with one of the categories, so I like putting it on here. But that reminds me, I forgot to go through the stuff at the top. So my encouraging words for this month is a quote that a friend shared with me, and that is, stress is an indication that you're not honoring a boundary somewhere. I love that quote. And then my priority is to be in the moment. And I added this matters sticker in the color of my relationships. And that is just because the 2 trips I'm going, one is with Sam's family and then one is to Chicago for the Chicago Planner Conference. And I really just want myself to focus on being in the moment at both of those weekends and not being on my phone. Just something that I want to try and remember. So I added that as my focus. All right, let's move on to the weekly ones. So some of them are the same. So check update power sheets, same as last month, and then stretch video, same as last month. I need to do it weekly. I need to work on that. All right, and then the 2 that I added are Money Mondays, and I'm really excited about this one. So one of the things on my finance goals is that I wanted to become more educated and I wanted to read more finance books. And I've been reading nonfiction in the morning as part of my reading time, and that's been great. I've been loving that. And I have some financial books listed on my nonfiction to read list. So at first I was like, well, I'll just like rotate through a money book. Like I'll read 1 or 2 other books and then I'll read a money one and then so on and so forth. And then I thought about it and I was like, do I really want to spend every morning reading a financial book? And do I really want like every 3rd book that I read to be a financial book? Like I have a couple on my list, but it just seemed like a lot to me. If you've been around here for a while, you know that I am a sucker for an alliteration. So what I decided to do instead was on Mondays, I will read a financial book in the morning in my nonfiction slot. And then I'll read my other nonfiction book that I'm working on Tuesday through Sunday. I should read them on the weekends. I haven't been, but I should. And that's my new plan, to incorporate the finance books, continue to be educated on finances, and not have it be super overwhelming. And then the last one is about the Facebook purging and what I'm gonna do about it instead. So as I mentioned, doing 5 groups per week, we would never clear out all of my Facebook groups. And the truth is 5, it doesn't take that long, because if you go to your groups, it's really easy for me to just pick 5 and leave 5. Like it's so easy. So this is one of the things I asked my friends about. I said, do you think it would be better for me to do 5 per day and make it a daily habit, or to spend more time weekly and just like set a timer and get through as many as I can? And we all agreed that the second option was better. And then I also decided to add Instagram. So every week I'm gonna set a timer and I have 15 minutes and I'm gonna purge as many Facebook groups and Instagram people that don't inspire me that I follow as possible. And then when the timer's up, I'm done. And we'll see at the end of the month how that works, how much I get through, and if we need to alter it for next month. But I'm excited to try something a little bit different and hopefully make a little bit more progress on that particular goal. The 3 daily habits that I've added this month are not new. None of them are new. And that is because I think I still need to sort of continue to work on the habits that I have been developing in January, and I want to focus on them and not add new ones. But these are ones that either weren't on the list or were a little bit different, and I want to track them in a different way. So the first one is getting 7.5 hours of sleep. So this is something that I have been trying to do in January, And I have been actually doing a pretty good job of it in January, but I haven't been tracking it, and I want to. Well, that's not true. I've been tracking it in my wellness journal, but I want to track it here. And that is, I want to get at least 7.5 hours of sleep every night. More on the weekends, I like to give myself more. But I was really guilty a lot, especially during Vlogmas, of only getting 6 hours. And sometimes that's okay. Sometimes because of whatever the event is, and if I have to be up late for something and I can't get up early, or I have to be up late and I don't want to quit my morning routine, like sometimes I will only get 6 hours. I can respect that. But for the most part, I need to get 7.5 hours. It's good for my health. It's good for my mental stability. It's good. It's good for all around. So I am going to track that in the month of February. And again, this is something that I have been doing now, but I'm not going to focus on tracking it in January. I'm just going to wait until we get to February. And then the other two are about reading. So on January's, I had read 30 minutes, and we talked about how I didn't love that. And the other thing is I've been reading twice a day. Actually, I've been reading in the morning. I've been reading my nonfiction, and then in the evening before I go to bed, I've been reading fiction or something more fluffy. I've been reading the Michelle Obama book, which I understand is not fiction, but it's not like a self-development, personal development, self-help book. So I want to track how many days I'm doing both, because I feel like they are both valuable to me in different ways. And then I feel like on the weekend, sometimes I quit both, or sometimes I quit one, and I just want to see what that's like. Especially when I'm traveling, it'll be really interesting. I'm going to take both with me. At that point, I might have to switch to my Kindle because it seems silly to take 2 books with me. But that's okay. I could get them on my Kindle. I rent from the library and download to my Kindle, so that is not a problem. But I've been loving how much reading I've been doing, and I just want to make sure I track it. So those are the daily habits for February. Okay, that is it. That is all of my word vomit thoughts on how the power sheets have been going for me. Again, I'm so happy that I finally decided to commit and dig into these, because they have really made such a difference in my life, and working on them with friends, I think, has helped our friendships grow. I think it's been forcing us, sounds like a really bad word, but it has been forcing us to spend time together. It's given us something to get together on and talk about. And so I have my group of friends here in New York, and what I love about that is that we have one of each color. Like each one of us, there's 4 of us, and we have one of each color because they all spoke to us. It's just, I absolutely love that. And then my friend Nina, who, if you don't follow her on Instagram, you should, Nina Planning. She has been doing them, and she's been a goal getter for years. She's been talking about goal setting for as long as I can remember. And so now that she finally has like an amazing tool to help her, she's unstoppable. So working with friends on it and just seeing the progress, but being okay with it being progress and not like I have to finish this super goal. Like everything doesn't need to be accomplished today or tomorrow or even this month, or heck, even this year. I was thinking about that the other day. I know it's still really early in the year, but I was like, I wonder which of these goals will carry over. Like I wonder which ones I will feel like I did and accomplished. Like I'd love for the home one to feel like I've accomplished it. Like I have created a cozy and clutter-free home, and I don't need that to be a focus point of next year. But who knows? That might not happen. And so I'm just excited. I'm excited for the rest of this month, for next month, and for the rest of the year. Let me know in the comments below, how have your goals been going so far for 2019? Is there one thing that you've implemented that's really changed your day-to-day, or even just one action that you took that made progress towards your overall vision for your life and where you want to be when you're 80. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, please click that subscribe button. I upload new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Thank you so much for watching. Happy goal setting. Hello. By the time it is, I know $12 of Hulu that gets downloaded. Daily habits that I've added this week. What am I trying to say? I don't want to say that.